measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Click OK, Neil, Jin, Wandek, Len, and I can't see who that is based on an icon, someone else in the G+, together with a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome. Is it Liam? I think it is Liam.
Sensual goat, yes, Liam.
Welcome, one and all.
Yeah, welcome, Liam, and welcome everybody in the Flipside.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So my point earlier was just let's be mindful of how we describe the people at large who don't know. We don't want to flog them with they're dumb, and I don't like that myself. I just give them a chance to get there. Some people take it a little bit longer to understand. That's okay in my book. Okay, I don't want to call them dumb or this or that because that's not what I'm about. And I think we should be mindful of that and be careful. If you don't have the patience, that's up to you. But that's my position, and it will always be that.
Fair enough. I mean, at a fundamental level,
you personalize everything.
Hang on, one more point.
Housekeeping questions today.
Sorry, Harp's. Yeah, we're going to do it in a minute. Harp's delivery method is okay in my book.
I wasn't asking you, Jin. Fundamental level, I agree with you, right? You're saying don't be rude to the general public, right? Okay, fair enough. In the pre-show, Jim was saying, well, but if it's ballers in a Discord server, then fair game. You can call them dumb. And my attitude was, well, they're the same. That's just the general public. They are the general public, just happen to be in a server and expressing their ball faith at the time. But that is just the same, one and the same thing. But at a fundamental level, Jin is saying, don't be rude to the general public if you want to flog them a book. Now, I do want to flog them a book. So I'm going to agree.
That's not my point. I'm just trying to address the fact that he said people don't understand level. Everybody understands level. Don, we got an equilibrium. Feeling off balance at this equilibrium means you're unsteady and at a risk of falling. I mean, everybody understands level from a child up. My wife said to me the other day, the stove is not level, the water's, and can you lift the stove up a little bit because the cooking is not right.
Okay,
one side is too hot.
The audience may not understand what we're talking about. So in the pre-show, we were discussing how if you take a tool that requires leveling, so you can describe deviations from that level or an adherence to that level as part of a measurement, it has been, I don't want to say suggested, but certainly incorporated into the discussion and argument of flat Earth versus globe, that we should take these tools and then move forward with demonstrations of their measurement. Now, my argument, if you will, in this regard is to say the principles required to have the tool work require they be level to the plane of Earth's surface first, to then move forward in a demonstration or practical application of the tool when utilising the parallel plane with respect to Earth's surface to make the measurement with. Ergo, upon utilisation of the tool itself, Earth is required to be a flat plane. Once you have established that in order to show a deviation from Earth's planar surface, you don't need to do anything else. You've already got an axiomatic requirement for Earth to be flat before you've done anything. Further to that, we had one deck express the exact same argument, but rather than with laser levels, with depression angles in the form of an argument after the measurement fact, after utilising axiomatic principles of parallel planes and height off surface level measurements be taken to form a argument after the fact with dip. My point being that in this instance, before you take any measurements for dip, you've already got to accept the Earth is flat so that you can acquire the measurements. If you want to say, I don't want to accept height off surface level, then you can't move forward and use the tool. However, for 10 years, we've used the tool in the process and application of its measurement without acknowledging the flat Earth prerequisites used for the tool to function in its measurement. Earth is flat before the tool's even used. I'm done.
Correct.
You gotta explain this more. Like the tool wouldn't have been even created if the Earth wasn't flat. See, when you say prerequisite, I know what you're talking about now, but you don't explain. You never explained what I just, Now,
fair enough. I use that word because it's appropriate. Prerequisite means that Earth must be flat in the first instance for the tool and its functionality to exist. Now you're speaking my language, Harp. In the pre-show, I was trying to get this through to Harp, specifically to Harp, with a lot of interruptions. But then at some point, he was like, oh no, I get it now. Yeah, the axiomatic requirement, a prerequisite, is that Earth is flat for the tool to even exist, as Harp just put it. Yeah, now you're talking my language.
Okay, if I can just interject, Mr. Old School coming back in there. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 points. One, when Hart was talking about his leveling tool, he was talking about it as how to explain how Earth is measured flat and utilized flat. And that was a perfect example. All the while, he didn't understand the Earth is measured flat and the penny dropping for him after Nathan's explanation. Point number two, for Neil's benefit. I didn't say that people don't understand what level is. I said that people don't understand the terminology Earth is measured and utilized flat, and Harp's attempt to demonstrate that to someone was a good method. People know what level is, but when you say Earth is measured flat and utilized flat, that's a different ball game, and the average man and Sue blog on the street, Joe blog, doesn't often understand that. Sometimes an explanation isn't enough and you need a demonstration. That's what I said. Please don't misconstrue what I say, because it's always coherent.
But in terms of the demonstration...
That's exactly what you said. That's
Neil,
why I interjected.
Neil, in terms of the demonstration, though, in order to have the tool be used to demonstrate, both parties must accept the axiomatic principle the tool's being used with. Ergo, before you've done anything, Earth must be accepted by all parties to have the description of the process being put into functional application as a flat Earth before they do anything. Now, if you say, well, they don't understand it, well, they do understand level. Well, then they do understand it because it's required.
They don't. No, they don't. That's not been my experience. My experience has been you explain to them, and these are people who are coming in fresh, that how Earth is measured and utilized flat, and they're lost. They're asking questions and questions upon questions. And I said, that's okay, that's fine, I'm glad that they're asking, because they clearly didn't understand what I said, so I need to elaborate more. That's been my experience. And Hart did ask yesterday, how often are you people actually talking to the people on the streets? How often? That's why he asked you that. Because if you knew that, you'd understand where we're coming from. Sometimes you're going to be having to explain a little bit more. Okay, thank you.
Jim, we don't just, that's what I'm saying. We don't just say it's measured flat. Of course we go into it. We go into it daily.
But it's part of
the other thing is, right,
I think we just...
No, there's three people. Everyone stop. Refracted, then I think I had one deck next, then Harp.
Well, it's part of their rhetoric. I mean, they taught you in school it was measured flat. They teach that.
One deck.
Like, why is this such a shocker?
Yeah, that's it.
Then they get you to memorize everything that's against that.
Yeah, it's put into a different class. You're taught that the Earth's shape is governed by science, whilst they simultaneously teach you how Earth is measured flat in a geography class. Go ahead, one deck, then Harp.
I'm just saying that we seem to be going around in circles the last 3 days about this flight and this, especially with Jin. We're at a good point now where we can, all of us can point out that the Earth is measured flat, and with sea level being the 0 degree baseline, and we can go straight to the fact of the matter. Now, it's quite obvious, Jin understands that, but he's quite adamant that he doesn't want to do that. So I think we should just leave Jin to do what he wants to do, because I think the show's just been focused on that matter, and we're losing our momentum going forward.
No, one deck. Sorry, no. I do want to do that, and I do that. What it is that when I explain to you that I have to explain a bit more, it's been met with some negativity here, like I'm doing something wrong when I'm not, because I'm mentioning the Earth is measured flat, utilized flat, and explaining it, and then somehow, why do you have to explain? Well, I have to explain because the level of the intelligence of the person I'm speaking to isn't up to speed. So I'm trying to help them up to speed.
I'm utilizing.
You know what? I'm nearly finished. I'm utilizing it so much that I'm hurting the opposition in those regular servers that I'm using it so much. So please, one deck, I'm loving using it. It's just that there are times when we have to elaborate a little bit more to the ordinary man on the street. And I seem to have met some negativity there. Like the question is, well, why would you want to do that from Nathan? Well, I have to. That's why the situation has dictated that. Okay, that's the point now I'm raising, that there are many ways to deliver the truth. I will be definitely utilizing and am utilizing and continue to utilize the Earth is measured and utilize flat. That is my top spiel. And then I still have to elaborate. That's the thing. So the Feast of Nonsense maybe I'll be going down the road because of them. There's nothing I can do about it. That's what I've got to do, unfortunately. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Go ahead, Harp.
I just wanted to elaborate on why this came up. There is a dude, Jesse Path of Light. I'm sure most of you know. He's constantly with the theodolite, and he doesn't really know what he's looking at. I'm trying to tell him, and I had him in mind, and all of a sudden I had this thought, because he's into lasers, and, he just is doing some other kind of laser thing. I thought, this guy, take a laser level, stick it to a pool, and measure the surface of the water. And you will find there will not be a single tiny speck of deviation.
Deviation from what?
From level.
From the axiomatic principle required for the tool to function in the first instance?
Correct.
Right, so for the tool to function in the first instance, Earth is required to be a flat plane of reference then? Yep,
and that's why you're not going to get a speck of deviation.
Perfect. I'm glad we had a rehearsal in the pre-show because that came out beautifully. It's the 6th time we just did that back and forth. I'm glad it made it to the live show in the most consistent way. Thank you, Harp. I'm glad that happened the way it did. Awesome. Yeah, right. So to describe the deviation, the measurement in years gone by would be the focus. But then you can describe the deviation, the measurement after the fact, the flat Earth fact, as whether or not it comports to sphericity, whether or not you're measuring a level without a deviation from a tool that axiomatically requires Earth be a flat plane for the tool to function, because the curve of the Earth is incorporated into the level of the lake. Then they've got oxymoronic principles and axioms that are used in the tool being described in violations of the law of non-contradiction. That's like level curving. No. Axiomatically, to describe the deviation in the measurement, we had to level the tool to the plane of Earth's surface so we could make the measurement. If it's not a plane of Earth's surface, that's to say they reject how the tool works, then the tool doesn't work anymore. You can't make the measurement. And if they do accept that it's leveled to the plane of Earth's surface, nothing else is needing to be done. Earth has a planar surface to be leveled to. They don't need to do anything. You've already got an axiomatic principle tied to how the tool functions without doing a damn thing.
Yeah, excellently executed, and I'm all for that. But there are situations and times when that doesn't work, where you've done all that and they still don't get it. And you have to go down another old school road to bring them back round to the new road. It's as simple as that. And that's at one deck.
Thanks.
Ethos
Hold
Brutus.
on a second. Let me just respond to that.
Brutus, one deck. Ethos.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as discussed in the pre-show, whether or not Next Man understands and appreciates how this tool requires Earth be a flat plane to tie its measurement axiomatically to is irrelevant of how the tool works. It matters not if I understand it. It matters not if you or Next Man understand it. If you're going to use the tool, the tool requires Earth be flat for the tool to work. Now you can, as an individual, after these facts and prerequisites are already in place, decide that you don't understand. You disagree. But that doesn't change what the tool is and how it references Earth. It matters not. Now, I get that there's going to be people out there that won't like the fact that they don't have an influence on what Earth is and how tools function to measure Earth. Flat in all examples. They want to, in some small way, be the arbiter of such things. You're not. I'm not. And neither's Next Man if he doesn't understand.
Yeah, one point there, though, that I should mention is that the ordinary man and woman on the street may not realize, wow, so it was flat all along. That's when the penny drops for them, that tool there is required on Earth being flat and horizontal in order for it to be working. Okay, now that you've got that, that means that the Earth was always flat. And that's when I start to really give it to them, that it was always flat before you were even born. You were born onto a flat Earth, because I want them to realize that fact. Okay, that's what it's all about here. Getting them to understand that you are living on a flat Earth. Thank you. Bloody hell, that's what it's all about.
Check this out, right? So I walk up to my builder buddy. See, this you just unleashed a new beast. And I say, do you realize that level that you're holding in your hand would not exist if Earth wasn't flat?
And you'd be correct to do so.
Beautifully said, Harp. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah, now you're getting it. Exactly. These things are requiring a surface level, requiring that the axiom of all parallels being flat with the horizon. All of these things will still hold true, regardless of if Next Man understands it or denies it. And if they deny it, this is where rock and the hard place is the most effective. It's like, you don't like or understand how Earth is required to be flat for us to level our tool to it. You don't like that. Well, then you can't make any measurements. You can't move forward making measurements with respect to that plane of reference to maybe have a belief with, to argue about dip. You can't do any of those things. Oh, you do. You want to accept the axiomatic requirement of a flat plane of reference. Well, then we don't need to do anything else. We've already got a flat Earth for the tool to work. What's that? You want to use the tool with a flat Earth prerequisite and then ignore the prerequisite so you can suggest that the surface curves. No, you're violating the base principle that the measurement is utilising to be a measurement. What's that? The deviation from the horizontal you level the tool to? Well, then you'll have to level the tool to it. We've already measured Earth flat. The tool requires it to be so. So once we understand how the tool's working, there's no need to demonstrate anything. You just understand the principle how flat Earth must be in all circumstances. Jobs are good, and you're already on the rock of Earth being measured flat.
Yeah, then you
Welcome
get some
to
wise
Florida.
guys say, hold on. Then you get some wise guys say, yeah, meet me on a mountaintop and I'll show you a plumb bob. Why don't you break that down, Nathan?
A mountaintop, as in how high you'll be with respect to horizontal. The principle in the vertical when you describe a mountain measured or surveyed with benchmarks and trig points. These are how we measure the heights of these locations. Ordnance Survey measures Earth flat. They describe the perpendicularity in the horizontal for the heights of the hills. That's how it is Earth measured. But for you to move forward and measure a principle that's utilising Earth as a planar surface to take the measurement, you must and can only understand and appreciate Earth as a plane first. You don't get to measure perpendicular in the vertical unless you have Earth's planar surface to reference. Now, if you, again, deny the perpendicularity to the plane of reference for the Earth measurement yet to be made, then you don't get to make the measurement. We definitely have Ordnance Survey, though. They've definitely measured Earth, and a prerequisite is that you're levelling your tools to the plane of the horizon, because axiomatically, all horizontals are parallel with the plane of the horizon, formed with Earth's surface. That would be surface level. So you can be perpendicular to it in the vertical. So again, I haven't measured any benchmarks. I haven't logged any trig points. I just understand how to move forward. I have to sit on the rock of Earth being flat before I can do a damn thing.
Yeah. And the thing is, right, paying lip service to curvature, right there, they said that about you're on a mountain and you can drop a plumb bob. Is that plumb bob with respect to the mountain, or is it with respect to Earth?
To Earth. Again, perpendicularity, the two are tied together. If you're dropping a plumb bob in the vertical, it is tied directly to the horizontal. These two things are intrinsically linked to one another. You can't get away from it.
Correct. And everybody in chat knows that, and that's the answer they gave him. Measuring to what? One of them said, well, the mountain top. How do you get to that mountain top off a flat plane, right?
What?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Neil.
Well, to measure that mountaintop, right, you have to leave the plane of reference to get to that mountaintop, right? So you have to leave the flat Earth, climb up the mountain.
Yeah, but all levels that you arise to on that mountain as you go up will be with respect to the source plane.
Yes, absolutely. That's the answer you got from everybody in chat.
Okay, I want you all to say a very warm hello, should he be watching after the fact, to Wayne from the Map Reading Company YouTube channel. Everyone say hello, Wayne.
What's up, Wayne?
Hi, Wayne.
How you doing, Wayne? Big up, big up.
Now, I've been
Wayne's
in
World.
Wayne's comments this morning because, I mean, I want to communicate with this guy on a personal level away from the subject necessarily of flat Earth measurements. And as much as I'm telling my audience to do the opposite of this, I'm communicating with him at a social level about, how people react to some of the things we do here. So we're going to be covering Wayne on the Map Reading Company YouTube channel in his description of benchmarks, something we've covered on this channel previously. But I put it to Wayne, is it reasonable that it's suggested I should have my kids taken away from me for discussing the exact same flat Earth measurements that Wayne covers on the Map Reading Company? Because it seems to me that when Wayne covers Earth being measured flat in intrinsic detail, he doesn't get told to drink bleach and isn't suggested that his kids should be taken off him or that he should jump off a tall building measured with respect to sea level in the vertical. Those things don't happen to Wayne. Now, it was my understanding that after we covered Wayne last time, that he suggested that I didn't understand something. No, I definitely understand, but that's kind of an elaboration where Wayne says Nathan doesn't understand. What, your religion of being on a ball, Wayne? No, I do. I've definitely got an advanced heliocentric understanding of your ball belief. I do understand your ball belief, undoubtedly better than you probably understand maps that are all surveyed by the Ordnance Survey flat, with trig points and benchmarks. So I do understand. But that, when it's taken to an extreme, just so I'm talking directly down the camera to Wayne, should he be watching after the fact, is exaggerated in people suggesting that I should drink bleach, jump off tall buildings and be castrated and have my kids removed from me. When you say Nathan doesn't understand, other people take that sentiment a lot further, Wayne. But just so you know, just so I'm communicating with you personally, should you be watching this, I do understand your bull religion, where it came from, who gave it this, and how the mathematics of a flat plane are utilised to create it, for you to believe in, when you don't understand how cognitively dissonant you are when measuring Earth flat in your videos, and then telling me I don't understand how bull-shaped the world is. Oh, I do understand how flat we measured Earth to create a bull religion for you to believe in spite of your use of flat Earth measurements. I'm glad we've all said a good hello to Wayne, because I'm now going to do the same for my audience. That is to say, after a shout out to Unitox Femu, mountain in USA is parallel with mountain in UK. Absolutely correct. We'll be covering that also shortly on this video, Unitox Femu. So thank you very much indeed for your super chat. But what I will be doing is asking the audience to go and let Wayne know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by him or indeed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. Now, I wouldn't suggest that Wayne should suffer the horrific treatment that we get when detailing how flat Earth gets measured. I'm not suggesting you, as the audience, go and tell Wayne he should have his kids taken off him, or that he should be reported to social services, drink bleach, or jump off tall buildings measured from a flat Earth. I'm not suggesting any of those things. I like this particular fart sniffer. His smugness is enduring, and it's warming. It warms my cockles when I see him all smug, measuring a flat Earth and describing perpendicularity in the vertical, when he goes through how the Ordnance Survey measured Earth flat in no uncertain terms, when he describes how across the world we measure Earth flat. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that he should have his kids taken off him. The egregious treatment that we suffer here shouldn't be bestowed upon this man just for measuring Earth flat to describe how a map works. That's disgraceful. Anyway, please let Wayne know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots, or indeed by Wayne himself, when he decides that because you're not expressing your globe faith like he's got, that maybe your comment should be removed because you've distilled that down to some point that needs pointing out to him in that regard, which it isn't. Just let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. Anything anybody wants to add before we get into this? No? In that case, let's crack on.
These photos on your screen, have you ever seen one of these? You can find them all over the world. Every country has its own design, but they all serve the same purpose. These are benchmarks. So hopefully today, I'll tell you some things that you didn't know. In the UK, heights are measured above mean sea level. In the USA and Canada, heights are not measured above sea level. Have you got that? They are not measured above sea level.
Feel free to interrupt at any poignant moment that you feel necessary, by the way. Panel, Discord, whoever.
Also today, after you've watched this video all the way to the end, it's only a few minutes, so I'm sure that you can spare just a short time to learn something new. And I will guarantee, absolutely guarantee, that you didn't know some of what I'm about to say.
I already knew Earth was flat. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was already aware that sea level is used for all elevation profiles across the Earth. That's the 0 degree baseline.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
So for each thing that you knew before watching this video, I want you to post a separate comment and start it with, I already knew that, and then say what it was that you already knew.
I encourage my audience to do that, but at my behest as opposed to his. That is to say, so that I receive some algorithmic love from YouTube. I don't. Again, just in case Wayne's watching. Actually, we get heavily censored here Because rather than just going through how trig points are measured, we then point out that axiomatically that requires Earth be planar, as opposed to your religion that you were taught in school in a science class, passed to you by the Roman Catholic Church, called heliocentrism. Now, when we point out that Earth is simply measured flat, we get told to jump off buildings, drink bleach, and have our kids taken away from us. That's what gets my goat, particularly. But I'm suggesting that when we find out things that we've definitely already covered on this channel multiple times, like you're covering, they're the same things. But it just puzzles me why we get told that we should have our kids removed, we get fired from jobs, we get persecuted and ridiculed, told to jump off tall buildings, kill ourselves, things of that nature. Why is it that Wayne doesn't get those things when he goes through our flat Earth gets measured? Why is there a distinction? I think we should build a bridge between us and him, or any normie that uses Earth, to measure. Because it's flat in all instances, that's the only way we can ever measure Earth. Last time we did this, I suggest that it wouldn't be reasonable for the heads of Google Earth to roll, for their kids to be taken away from them when they use flat Earth prerequisites to give us Google Earth measurements of surface level, to describe the land deviations from the horizontal in the vertical. Now, those measurements passed to us from the heads at Google Earth, they're not being told that they should jump off tall buildings, drink bleach, and have their kids taken away. And I ask, why not? Why is it reasonable that when we cover the exact same things that Google even provide us with to cover, that we get told that our kids should be taken away and Google doesn't? People working there, I mean. Now you, Wayne, you're the same in this example as the people we previously discussed in regards to Google Earth. That is to say, why is it that I get egregious treatment and you get 100,000 subs and praised in your comments? Is it because nobody's noticing just how flat Earth actually is? This is kept in a geography section of the YouTube algorithm. That no one's aware that you're just detailing how flat Earth gets measured, Wayne. Therefore, you're not called a science denier because you're over in the geography section. Well, it seems that your geography, Wayne, contradicts a lot of the science of Earth being globular. It's not. The measurements would dictate what Earth is, and you've got those, haven't you, Wayne? Ah, you're one of us. Flat Earther, aren't you, Wayne? You just don't know it yet. You just don't understand. Ted?
I was going to say, I think all surveyors using theodolites should be executed immediately.
Have their kids taken off and forced off tall buildings? By contrast and comparison. Yeah, Wandek's not actually suggesting this. He's saying that by contrast of what the public has deemed reasonable in terms of the treatment we receive, by contrast and comparison, they should have the same happen to them when surveyors just measure Earth, using the principles and tools that require Earth be flat and planar as a prerequisite for the tools to function. Right, Wandek, you're not actually suggesting we execute them. It's just a mirror that he's holding up.
Yeah, just an example of the treatment we receive.
Well, it seems that that's what they want to do. Buck is in chat trying to freaking character assassinate you, saying you got the perfect curvature that you're hiding proof. He's so far behind.
Will someone ban Buck Sodbuster from my chat, please?
I'll take care of it.
That's
And
the
post a
individual
separate
that used a planar surveying tool to claim it was measuring curvature.
That's the one.
Yeah, these people are disingenuous scumbags. The people who should receive harsh treatment are the egregious scumbag liars that we have to deal with, like Buck Sodbuster. You know, I'm not suggesting he should have his kids taken off him or forced off a tall building to prove his own faith in a gravitational attraction in a vector that's perpendicular to a plane of reference also. No, I just think he's stupid.
Comment for each thing that you didn't know. Start those with, I didn't know that, and then whatever it was.
And if you're coming from my channel, say, I already knew Earth was measured flat, like you're measuring. From Nathan Oakley. Before I even came across your channel, we knew Earth was measured flat.
Oh, and just to make it interesting,
potential.
Unskippable lad. I think there'll be 2 of them. Yeah, like I say, we're only contrasting the treatment we've had. We're far from suggesting that anybody else should should suffer similar treatment. That's not our suggestion. But it is interesting to compare and contrast when people like this Wayne guy get to sniff his own farts. Look how smug and happy he is. He's detailing Earth being measured flat in a geography context as he sniffs his own farts. Now, I'm sure he wouldn't be as smug as he looks here if he was on a daily basis having it suggested that his kids be removed from him by scumbags in his chat section. No, he's not having to suffer that, is he? He just gets to talk about Earth being measured flat with a free pass, like the people at Google measuring Earth flat, for us to use their measurements to show how Earth is flat. But us using the people at Google's measurements, or this guy's fart-sniffing descriptions of Earth being measured flat, gets to be smug on his side of the fence while we get persecuted and ridiculed and reported to social services? That seems very unreasonable. Why? He's the one giving us the measurements in this instance. Now, I'm not suggesting, and Wandeck's not suggesting, that we extend the disgusting treatment that we've suffered for years on end to the people who actually measure Earth flat. We're saying, why is it that we get censored? Why is it that Google get to actually measure Earth flat and provide that data to everybody with a free pass that doesn't have anybody suggesting their kids be removed, or that they drink bleach, or get forced off tall buildings, or get castrated? Now, I'm not in a privileged position to speak to the heads at Google, but they are definitely measuring Earth flat. It's the only way Earth can be measured. And this fart sniffer here seems to be very smug. Now, in case you can't look, it's probably not obvious enough how it's slapped all over my Chevy Chase. The air of disdain that I have as I'm battle-hardened to scum telling me that I should have my kids taken away. Well, Wayne here doesn't have to suffer that, does he? So go and let Wayne know. We already knew all the things you're covering from a flat earther called Nathan Oakley. He'd already explained to us how we measure Earth flat with benchmarks, how the Ordnance Survey used these reference points and trig points. We already knew Earth was flat, Wayne. Why is it that you get to be so smug about it, whilst Nathan gets to be suggested his kids should be taken off him? If I could speak English.
Know what country you're from. Okay, benchmarks. Let's get back to benchmarks. What are they? The answer is
flat Earth references.
Simple. They're fixed physical markers placed at a known height.
Height, as in perpendicular to a plane of reference, with the same plane of reference for all of the different heights referencing each other. To the millimetre, as we'll find out later, Wayne. Yeah, to be describing height, you need a universal horizontal reference for them to all adhere to. And you're saying, oh, by chance, all of the UK uses one flat plane to have all of these heights perpendicular to reference to the millimetre. But other countries use a different point that they reference everything in the horizontal perpendicular to for height. Really? So everyone's measuring Earth flat, right, Wayne? Yeah, they are. You're detailing it quite concisely. I applaud you.
Above a chosen reference point.
Wait, reference point or reference plane? We're describing them with respect to the horizontal now, aren't we?
As an example, you've probably already noticed, because you're eagle-eyed, that is a benchmark. Okay, that may sound a bit technical, placed at a known height above a chosen reference point. So let me explain. In this case, height just means the vertical difference between some...
Vertical, again, so we're talking axiomatic principles. Perpendicular to a plane of reference called horizontal. These two things are intrinsically tied to one another, Wayne. Yeah, you can't have vertical without the horizontal. And we've got a point To tie them all to... No, we're tying them all to a horizontal plane of reference, Wayne. That's what we're describing sea level with. Is level for the sea a point? Definitely not. Now, it might be a point on your vertical description, but axiomatically, we're going to tie every one of them to the same plane of reference, aren't we, Wayne? That's how we're measuring it. So we can be accurate for the height in the vertical to the millimetre. Yeah, we're going to need a flat earth for this, Wayne. It's how it's done.
Something and something else. Let's use the ground right here as our reference point. Okay, so this exact spot here, this is now officially 0. Everything, and I do mean everything, is either at the same height as this, or it's above it, or it's below it. So let's do a test. This rock here, let's say that I measure from our 0 point to the ground at the base of that rock.
It's behind it though, Wayne, so you can't really describe it with a single point, can you? No, what you'd need is a horizontal plane to tie both of them parallel with that point on the vertical. Yeah, you can have a single point on the vertical, but the rocks are at different positions, aren't they? They're not on the same vertical line. They've deviated from one another in the horizontal. So for you to describe the differential, you'll need a flat earth to reference them to the horizontal for their difference in elevation, Wayne. Or to put it another way, you'll need a flat earth for this. It's how axiomatically you will and can only describe changes in the vertical. That's how it's done.
And it's a...
I'm still trying to work out what he's trying to do here, Nathan. Is he trying to take the horizontal plane of reference at sea level, move it up to where he is on ground level, and then claim that we don't need it still?
No, he's trying to explain that for all of the different height measurements, you can tie it to a 0 point, which you then describe any changes from. And in this example, in this video, he's saying, for us here in the UK, we tie it to a particular point in Cornwall from the 1920s that was used to average what we call mean sea level. And that is where we use that point on the vertical axes to describe deviations from it. But as I've just explained with the rock behind him, that's moving across the horizontal. So for a difference in the vertical, they're all tied to the same plane of reference. Just there's a different standard for different countries. That's the point of his video. Doesn't change how he's describing how measurements in the vertical are axiomatically tied to a flat plane of reference for Earth's surface for them to be described with respect to one another. That is what is being detailed. His overarching point being it's different in Germany to Canada, which is used by the Americans, and not sea level, which is what we use here with our benchmarks. That's his point in this video. It's just nice for us to tie it to how flat Earth can only be measured to describe anything he's covering in this video. Was there someone else that wanted to add something?
20 centimeters above. And this other rock here, that is below our 0 reference point. So it's a minus.
Go on.
No, I'm just laughing because they're trying to make a flat plane a flat point.
Yeah. Without it being on a plane of reference, the differential would be irrelevant because we'd have a two-dimensional vertical world with no deviations in the horizontal. But you can see one rock's on his left, one rock's on his right. So if there's going to be a deviation from the plane measured from the point on the vertical axes, then they're all on the same plane, parallel with one another, parallel to each other for the difference in the vertical.
That's 20 centimeters. And that's all map heights are. It's the vertical difference between somewhere on a map and the place that your government has declared to be 0. And yes, I can already feel lots of people are already typing, I already knew that, in the comments box.
Yeah, we already knew that to describe differences for the altitude measurements of Earth, that it would be tied to a horizontal plane of reference you're calling a point ascribed by government. But you can't describe differences across the map unless all are tied to a horizontal plane, which they are axiomatically. They can't be anything else. Maybe you should have kids taken off you, Wayne. No? Does it not seem reasonable that when you detail how axiomatically tied to flat planes these deviations in height measurements of Earth are, that you should be mocked, ridiculed, have your kids taken off you, forced off a tall building, castrated and forced to drink bleach? No? Ha ha ha! You get to do it without any concern? Why is that? Oh, because he's in a geography context talking about maps. What are you, a science denier? Do you not understand how curvy your religion is? It seems like Wayne here doesn't understand how he's got a cognitive dissonance for his religion that doesn't have a horizontal plane of reference for Earth's surface. In his worldview, the whole thing's curving, right, Wayne?
That's fair enough. Many people do already know, about the height differences.
When you say the height differences, are these points, as in parallel planes, differing from one another? Or do we just have a two-dimensional vertical world, Wayne? Which is it? Oh, we've got a flat Earth with the differences in the horizontal planes of reference parallel with one another, described on a vertical axis from sea level or an arbitrary point ascribed by government. Yeah, I already knew Earth's flat, Wayne. And what do you know? That's exactly how we measure it with these point. Oh no, we've got two different hands describing planes of reference and their variation on a vertical axis with respect to one another, given that axiomatically all horizontal planes are parallel with the plane of the horizon. It's an axiom used in this measurement, isn't it, Wayne? I already knew Earth was measured flat. Why isn't Wayne being told that his kids are going to be taken away from him? Why isn't he being told in his comment section that he should be drinking bleach? Why am I getting that treatment when I cover benchmarks, but he gets to sniff his own farts? I don't understand why there's this discrepancy. Can somebody enlighten me? That's not rhetorical. Why is he so chuffed about himself sniffing his own farts on this hilltop describing how Earth is measured flat, yet we get told that our kids should be taken away from us? Why is there this discrepancy? What am I missing?
Because he's not tying it to him being a flat earther.
No, he is. He's just described parallel planes for the deviation in height. Earth can only be flat. That's why I was so keen to make sure that Harp and I were on the same level in terms of how the axioms function when describing any measurement in this regard. I mean, we could, if we didn't understand, Wayne. I mean, unless you understand axiomatically how these parallel planes for the deviation in height across all the measured land that you know work, then you won't have these measurements function. Now, if you don't understand that, Wayne, then you can't detail how flat Earth is being measured as you are doing such an admirable job of. Now, you are accurately describing how Earth is measured flat for these benchmarks to exist. Because if you deny, what's that, we got a curved surface, well, then we can't describe the differences in the vertical with respect to each different point. Like a rock over here and a rock over here. Like you could have a rock over here where you say, nah, I don't like that we have axiomatically principally tied to a flat planar surface all horizontals. I don't like that. Well then, why the holy fuck would you ever be measuring Earth at all then? You need that axiom to hold true to measure Earth's surface with. Oh, you do want to accept that you've got parallel planes to describe differentials in height when measuring a flat Earth? Well then you didn't need to measure a damn thing. You understood that Earth has horizontal intrinsically tied to it at the sea level or an arbitrary point. No, it's reference to everywhere and the deviation from said point on a vertical scale. in the horizontal when you look across a map that's flat and describe the topographical differences with respect to said flat map. That's how Earth is measured. Like I say, you can go to that hard place where you don't like it because you've got a bull belief, right, Wayne? Where you don't understand horizontality, perpendicularity. You don't understand these things, right? Well, then you can't use them to measure Earth. But he definitely understands how flat Earth's being measured, doesn't he? Because he's measuring it that way.
But don't forget, stick around until the end. We're not even at the best bit yet. So, back to our little experiment. We now have...
No. It seems like Wayne doesn't understand what an experiment is. An experiment is a hypothesis test. A hypothesis is a suppositional statement about a cause and effect relationship that you have predicted, that's scientific prediction, hypothesis, the cause of a phenomena you observed in nature. So to go through it in order, observe a phenomena in nature would be step 1. Step 2 would be presume a cause of said phenomena observed in nature. And step 3 would be experiment. That's vary and manipulate your presumed cause of the effect you observed in nature. That's an experiment, otherwise known as a hypothesis test. It seems like Wayne doesn't understand what science is. Do you not understand, Wayne? I understand from feedback that you suggested I don't understand. So my question is, why are you in a category error? Do you not understand, end quote you, what an experiment is? You think looking at differentials on parallel planes of reference with respect to one another, that'd be a flat Earth measurement? You think that's an experiment, do you, Wayne? Oh, Wayne, you don't understand what science is. You're doing maths based on geography. You're not doing experiments. You just don't understand, Wayne. Now, the fact that you don't understand what science is isn't going to lead me to suggest you have your kids taken off you, you drink bleach and are forced off a tall building measured with respect to a plane of reference. You know, like the heights of everything the Ordnance Survey will get within the millimetre on parallel planes of reference described from Earth's surface level. Yeah, that's a flat Earth measurement, but you seem to describe it like it's an experiment that you're doing. No, Wayne, you don't understand what science is. Yeah? Tell me I don't understand. Get the sharp end of my tongue, you will, Wayne. But, you're still going to sniff your own farts, aren't you, Wayne? Yeah, because you're not being told that your kids should be taken away when you measure Earth flat, are you, Wayne? Because you're over there in the geography category. But you're still going to steal valour from science and call this an experiment. Now, your measurements are empirical, but they're not science. You're not doing experiments, Wayne. You just don't understand.
3 heights. We've got our...
Oh, Wayne, can you write in my comment section, I didn't understand what an experiment was till you told me? Can you do that? Yeah? Can you humour me by letting me know what you didn't know when I told you what an experiment was? Because you used the word incorrectly, Wayne. So can you leave a little comment below saying, I didn't understand what an experiment was till you went through it? Yeah? Talk down to your audience. I can talk down to you, Wayne.
0 reference point and the ground at the base of these 2 rocks here.
Sorry, they're not at a 0. They're not at a single point, are they, Wayne? One's over here and one's over here. Yeah, they're with respect to a planar surface, Wayne. You understand now that I'm explaining it to you. It's not a single point. You haven't only got one vertical axis. It's shared across, axiomatically, the perpendicular plane that horizontal will afford you when describing perpendicularity for a rock over here and a rock over here. They're not tied to a single point. Now, you can describe a point on the vertical axes, but that's planes of reference all being parallel with each other. And if you're going to describe Earth with said parallel planes, Earth's flat, Wayne. Now, maybe you didn't understand because you thought you were doing an experiment. Let me know in the comments, Wayne, if you didn't understand until I went through it with you. Observe natural phenomena, formulate a prediction, that's a hypothesis, and then actualise said hypothesis. That's vary and manipulate that which you presume causes an effect. Are you observing an effect when you look at a rock over here, Wayne? No, you just don't understand, Wayne. Don't understand science. You do understand how to measure Earth flat, though. Num 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 as you sniff your own farts, you smug bastard.
But let's say that we want to get the height of every rock in this area.
Well, then we'll be using lots of parallel planes of reference with respect to a single point that you call zero. Oh, that's pretty much like you described it, isn't it, Wayne? Have you got people telling you should have your kids taken off you in your comment section? Because I have. For saying the exact same thing you are. Isn't that weird? How these standards don't apply to the people in a geography category, but when we put it into a category error of science, like Wayne, who didn't understand what science was 5 minutes ago. Yeah? That when it's in a category error of science, it's suggested that the people who point out how flat Earth is measured suggest that they have their kids taken off them? Isn't that weird?
And that's maybe, I don't know, 50 or 100 rocks. To get the first two heights, we measured directly from our 0 point, but going back from each rock all the way back to this 0 point, each time would be, well, let's just say it would take a long time. And this is where benchmarks come in.
I tried everything. Coffee.
What surveyors did in every country was to measure the height difference between the 0 reference point and a new location.
Sorry, if you've only got 1 point, how can you describe it from this location and that location? Would it be with respect to a horizontal plane of reference then? That they're all parallel with? Yeah, they would be, Wayne. You'd have to measure Earth flat to do this. Axiomatically, it requires it be that way. And it is measured that way, isn't it, Wayne? Yeah? Earth's measured flat. There's no ambiguity here. Other than you describing a single point on the vertical axes for the starting point, but then describing things that are over there and over there in the horizontal aspect without even mentioning it. That's okay, though, Wayne. You obviously didn't understand that horizontality is directly tied to the vertical point that you've got a 0 at. For the rock over there and the rock over there to make sense. Parallel with the point that you're calling 0. Yeah, Earth's measured flat.
So he's getting mixed up anyway, obviously, with the points and sea level. He's confused, isn't he?
Yeah, the point is on the vertical axis.
Yeah. I mean, it will be sea level he's referring to when he gets to the, pardon the pun, when he gets to the point eventually. It's going to be sea level, obviously.
And then they placed a physical marker or a benchmark at that.
And the benchmark, right? Will the benchmark be a single point, Wayne? Is that what a benchmark is? Is it 1 point? Or is it a fucking line? I'm pretty sure it's a line, like a horizontal line. But you seem to be describing it as a single point. I don't know why. It's obvious that Wayne doesn't understand what's in front of his friggin' eyes when he looks at a horizontal benchmark. It's not a point, Wayne. Yeah? That's a horizontal line. Parallel with all the other horizontal lines that are on the benchmarks across the country. Across the country. Another prerequisite flat Earth description that I'm using there, Wayne. Maybe you'll use it later.
A new spot. In the USA, they often look like metal discs attached to rocks or embedded in concrete. In Australia, they might be rods or bolts. In Germany, sometimes even a simple cross carved into a building. As I said before, every country has its own design. Oh, just a quick point here. Benchmarks are not the same as triangulation points or trig points in the UK. Benchmarks are placed at a known height, and a triangulation point is placed at a known location. So you could say that benchmarks record the vertical position and triangulation points record the horizontal position.
Oh dear.
In the UK, there are two main types of benchmarks. There are fundamental benchmarks and lower order benchmarks. There are around 200 fundamental benchmarks across the country. This is a fundamental benchmark, this lump of concrete here. On the top of each fundamental benchmark, there's a small pillar, which you can see here. And this is a known height above the actual benchmark, which is in an underground chamber built into the bedrock. They were constructed like this so that the actual marker wouldn't be disturbed. And the height of the underground marker is precisely known.
So we must adhere to the horizontal planar description for height to know it. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it. Earth must be flat to achieve this as a principle.
And when I say precisely, I do mean exactly that. If you live in the UK, you should be really proud of the Ordnance Survey. I'll give you one example of their precision. The fundamental benchmark in Lempeter in Wales was damaged a few years ago. So the Ordnance Survey repaired it and then remeasured its height to within 0.01 millimeters. That's a tenth of a millimeter from a reference point 270 miles away.
So in the horizontal, you've got this point over here and then 270 miles away over here, and you've got them described parallel with one another to within 1 millimeter. Yeah, the accuracy of how Earth is measured flat is quite phenomenal, isn't it? What's that? It's curving? No, this won't be within a millimetre of anything then, because you haven't got an axiomatic principle to describe it parallel over 200 miles away from it with, have you? So, but for the fact that Earth is and can only be described as a flat plane to give you this tenth of a millimetre accuracy, you wouldn't have a description to give us then? Yeah, you're going to have to sink to your knees in acknowledgement of how flat Earth is. Wayne. And anybody who understands the principle of measuring Earth. In this case for geography with a mathematical description and an axiomatic parallel plane. Earth's measured flat, ladies and gentlemen. There's no getting away from it.
Just think about that for a moment. Let me get my calculator out. So let's have a look. If we convert the miles to kilometers, okay, so it's around 400
Save up to 25%.
434 kilometers, or 434 million millimeters to a zero reference point. The ordnance...
No. The reference point is in the vertical at 0. And if you're describing a deviation from it, the deviation is in the horizontal, with all planes parallel for this accuracy to hold true. Now, you've got two choices, Wayne. You can say, no, curving, in which case what you've just described would be accurately summarised as bollocks, meaningless tripe. Alternatively, you can accept that Earth can only be flat for this principle in accuracy to hold true. So which is it, Wayne? Is it that, no, I don't want the axiomatic principles of perpendicularity and horizontal, all planes being parallel? I don't want that because I got a belief in the curve that I got when I learnt science. Or do you want this accuracy to hold true for the measurements of Earth that you're disseminating in such a beautiful way? I mean, obviously you're still smug enough to not be told you should have your kids taken off you for describing how flat this requires Earth be. But I assure you, it requires these axiomatic principles hold true. And it matters not if Wayne turns around and says, well, you just don't understand how axiomatically parallel curves can be. It doesn't matter if Wayne does that, if he doesn't understand his own rhetoric when describing mathematical variations in parallel planes from a 0 point on a vertical axis. That will require that they're all parallel with each other, or what he's just said is meaningless bollocks. Now, obviously, as he sniffs his own farts in his smug way and tells you about how accurate these flat Earth prerequisites are, he's not even considering how that could potentially lead to him being told his kids should be taken away or should drink bleach. He's measuring a flat Earth after all. Of course, he's over here in this geography category, so it's okay, right? Yeah, like the Google Earth people who measure Earth flat also. They think they're safe because they're over here in a geography category? What, and because we're pointing out we should be censored so that we can still be tolerated to be told to jump off tall buildings and be castrated? There's definitely a discrepancy that needs to be squared. I don't really understand why there's a divide between us. We're talking about the exact same thing, aren't we? That's not rhetorical. We are talking about the same thing he talks about, aren't we? Nobody's responding to me. Is anybody even listening?
Yeah, I'm listening, Nathan. Yeah, absolutely.
Survey.
I'm actually applauding you as you critique him so well. Thank you very much. This is when you're at your best, by the way.
I'm having trouble with my internet. I didn't want to ruin the show asking you if you could hear me.
I can hear you clearly. Did you want to add something? Feel free.
I just wanted to answer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It seems to me that as long as he keeps the idea of the vertical axis away from being in any way tied to the horizontal plane, then he doesn't get the ridicule. Or is that the trick? Is that what you got to do?
I think that's what he's trying to do. Yeah, keep saying point. What year was this video?
This is 6 months ago.
There you go. This would never be said 5 years ago. Guarantee he'd be saying reference planes, not point.
Yeah, my question was answered. Yeah, why is he doing that? Points. He's trying to keep the globe alive, the idiot.
Well, we're changing. We change the way people speak. You may not believe that, but we do.
Oh, I know that. In fact, we're having a very negative. They have to change the language because of the scrutinization that the flat earthers have brought upon their profession and everything else. That is why. Yeah.
With an accuracy of one.
Unless somebody can find me a video of 5 years ago, somebody saying reference points all the time.
43 billion. You've got to respect that. Now, obviously, you don't need that sort of accuracy for everything. So surveyors would walk away from the fundamental benchmarks and record a new height above or below it, and then mark that spot with a lower order benchmark.
Again, I just go through this once more, just because I feel it's worth exaggerating this exact point. If they walk away from it, and it's still tied to the same vertical axes, then they're describing Earth as a flat plane for this to be in any way valid. Just want to make that absolutely abundantly clear in case anybody's unaware. I mean, it's not like it's ambiguous, is it?
No, and that's exactly what you had to do. So
that's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, it's what you got to do.
Over 500,000 lower order benchmarks in the UK, and from this new place they would again move a short distance.
In the horizontal, or are they just staying on a two-dimensional vertical point to describe it in that way? No, they're moving in the horizontal and then describing the deviation on the vertical axes with respect to the parallel planes that describe them. Now, obviously, if you don't understand that, you might be, I don't know, idiotic enough to think that you've got curves. But obviously, this whole thing falls apart. The principles don't function unless Earth's flat. If it's curving, none of this is useful. How can you be within 1 millimeter from the point on the vertical if the ground moves away from an axiomatic horizontal in its perpendicularity to the vertical axis you're using for a 0 point? Oh, well, it can't, can it, Wayne? Yeah? Earth must be flat for this to have any relevancy at all. It's tied directly to Earth's planar surface for the accuracy to the millimetre, isn't it, Wayne? That's right. Earth's measured flat.
And record another height, and so on and so on. And this is how all governments across the world built their elevation models of their entire country.
The entire countries were measured flat then?
One mark at a time. They would record the height at a certain location and then move a short distance.
In the horizontal. Flat Earth. Bren. Flat Earth. Bren. Hello?
Sorry. My microphone automatically goes on when I'm being called. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'll put myself on mute.
Yeah, it's a glitch in Discord.
And record the next height. In the UK.
The next height with respect to a parallel plane of reference to describe how high or low it is across an entire averaged flat surface then, Wayne. Take his kids off him, cut his balls off and shove him off a tall building measured with respect to the perpendicularity of horizontality he's just described. Oh, what? He doesn't get that treatment because he's talking about geography? Why? It's just us that gets that. That seems very unreasonable. This guy's actually measuring Earth flat, but he doesn't have his kids taken off him. Why the discrepancy? I don't really understand why. Surely he should be told to drink bleach too, right? I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't suggest that. I think that kind of disgusting, egregious treatment that we have suffered for pointing out how flat Earth is for the last 10 years shouldn't fall on anybody. But yet he's measuring Earth flat and sniffing his own farts for it. I don't really get it. Doesn't seem reasonable.
He should be, because we've been saying it for the longest time. He's saying what we're saying.
Yeah, he's saying what we're saying. We get told to have our kids removed and reported to social services. He gets to enjoy 100,000 subscribers and sniff his own farts and tell me I don't understand. What don't I understand, Wayne? The experiment that you didn't understand, you dumb fuck. Is that what I didn't understand, Wayne? Because I'm pretty sure it's you that doesn't understand what science is when you use that word incorrectly. You do definitely understand how planes of reference can be within 1 millimetre on a vertical axis when moving across the horizontal to describe that deviation from a 0 point on a vertical axis that would require all of them be parallel to describe a difference between them. Earth's flat, Wayne. Maybe you didn't understand your own mathematical simplification of this principle used when Ordnance Survey measured the entire country with respect to its planar differential. But Earth is being measured with respect to its planar surface for the heights to be described within a millimetre or a tenth of a millimetre? Wow, that's very accurate. The measurement of a flat Earth that you've got there, Wayne. I hope you understand. Let me know in my comments. Hopefully you can tell me that you didn't understand science. We already knew that. You didn't understand what an experiment was. But now you understand how I get persecuted for pointing out how flat Earth gets measured, and you don't when you're out in the field describing how Ordnance Survey measured it flat. Do the Ordnance Survey people have it suggested that their kids should be removed? They're unequivocally measuring the entire country flat, but they're not being told their kids should be taken off them and forced off tall buildings measured in the vertical axis also, with respect to Earth as a planar surface described from sea level here in the UK. Does the Ordnance Survey not get told to drink bleach? Those people who measured Earth flat. They don't have to suffer it when they draw out a horizontal line in the form of a benchmark to describe how all those planes of reference can be described from a 0 point. They're not being told to drink bleach. Why not? Oh, right, they're in a geography category rather than the scientific category error that Wayne exposed himself as being a dumbass with when he used the word experiment incorrectly. Oh, right. Now, I don't suggest that Wayne should be pushed off a building for using the word experiment incorrectly. He just didn't understand what science is. But he definitely understands geography and maths, doesn't he? When he measures Earth flat in no uncertain terms. I mean, axiomatically it must be, or all of this is bullshit. It's not bullshit, it's how they've measured Earth. Flat.
Sorry, are they measuring Earth to the to a tenth of the millimeter. Is that correct? These
Yes.
surveyors?
Yes.
Wow. Thank you.
These lower order benchmarks were placed on churches, bridges, brick walls, large boulders, basically anything that the OS thought would be around for a long time and it wouldn't move. If you've walked anywhere in the UK, chances are that you've gone past many, many of them without even noticing. There are.
No, we've already made videos about them. Again, like I keep saying, Wayne, when we cover the same shit you're covering, we get told that our kids should be removed from us. Some of us have lost our jobs. But yet you get to enjoy 100,000 fart-sniffing subscribers who praise you for describing how flat Earth gets measured. There's something definitely not right here.
There are a lot of them. And this is where you might want to delete the comment that you were starting to type, I already knew that, and replace it with another one, I didn't know that. I'll guarantee that you didn't know the next bit. In the UK, there are a number of types of lower order benchmarks, and it can be as simple as a brass screw or a brass bolt in a wall.
You say you guarantee we didn't know that. No, we've covered this too, Wayne. Yeah? On Flat Earth Debate, we've specifically covered this. So we did know. It's just what resulted was people suggesting I should have my kids taken off me as a result of disseminating these facts of how flat Earth got measured with benchmarks and trig points. So, no, we did know. Yeah, we went through the website and all the different thousands of them as you just described. Lower order benchmarks chiselled into churches. I physically went to one to make the video about it. What's that? I should delete the comment that said I didn't understand this? No, we did. The difference is you don't get told that your kid should be taken off you. You can, you smug fuck, tell your audience that I don't understand. What, science? Like experiments? No, you're confusing me with you. We're both covering the same things, though. We're both covering how flat Earth is measured. It's just I'm not in a science category error like you were earlier, when you didn't understand what an experiment was, Wayne.
Or a flush bracket. And
flush? There's another one of those axiomatic words we don't often get to hear. Flush bracket. Yeah, we covered those too when describing how flat Earth gets measured, Wayne. So no, we won't be deleting any comments saying, oh, I didn't know that. No, we did know that. Like I say, when we put it out to a general public that we're heavily censored from, we don't get to sniff our own farts like you do, Wayne. We get to be persecuted for the exact same information that you're covering here.
And this type is many.
Yes.
Sorry, I was going to say, you notice how he's got a flush on his face? He's so smug.
Just on a side note, right? I watched a video as I was doom scrolling, and one of the TikTok-esque type videographers on the shorts feed from YouTube was talking about Earth being a Tartarian evolution of an old school antiquitech technology that had a copper wire from the top of a church led into what he described as an antiquitech plug socket. And do you know what he showed? This. This is what he showed. I kid you not.
Don't realise the copper's for lightning.
No, he was saying that was antiquitech providing electricity to this on screen now that he called a plug socket. It's a completely non sequitur. It's just an irritation where somebody with Flat Earth in their title for their channel was talking about Flat Earth measuring points like they're plug sockets.
I'll put one on the screen. This is very common.
Is that a point? It's like, maybe you just don't understand what a point is. You know, what a point is, like one dot. Does this, anybody, please back me up. Does this look like a single dot? This marker?
No, it does not.
All right. What's it describing in terms of its
vertical vector with a horizontal?
Perfect. Glad you're here, John.
Broad arrow pointing to a horizontal line.
Sorry, a horizontal line? Sorry, is it just me, or did he say the word point about 24 times up until this point in the video.
No, it's not you. He was supposed to say horizontal point right there. What changed?
Because it's obvious when you've actually got the thing on screen that you're talking about parallel planes of reference deviating in the vertical from a 0 point on the vertical axis. But when you move an inch away from that vertical axis in the horizontal, all planes must remain axiomatically tied to the plane of the horizon for any of this measurement to make sense. Earth's flat in this measurement. There's no ambiguity. If it isn't, it doesn't make sense as a measurement anymore.
And it's the exact top edge of that line, which is the
pissing down your back and telling us it's raining when you keep referring to a single point. Yeah, it's a line. It's a horizontal line representing the surface level and its altitude with respect to all other surface level altitude measurements when we survey and measure Earth flat. Exactly as Ordnance Survey have already done. And they put it on things that will be around long after wanker fart sniffers have died. Like the church buildings will still have Earth's description of a horizontal planar aspect of its measurement chiselled into the wall or chiselled into a rock that ain't going anywhere.
Recorded height that the Ordnance Survey use. Did you know that?
Yeah, we did. It's just I got told I should have my kids taken off me, and you get to laugh about it. What gives?
Oh, the broad arrow, by the way, it's a symbol that's been used for over 700 years to show that something belongs to the crown.
Really? So predating heliocentrism, then? How interesting.
And later to mark government property.
Really? I mean, maybe you didn't understand how long your ball faith was in effect when you started telling your audience how I don't understand the flat Earth measurements that we both go through, how axiomatically the principles of a flat surface level parallel for the heights with respect to a 0 point in the vertical axes must be flat for it to make any friggin' sense. No, we definitely did cover this already. Like I keep saying, it suggested that when arseholes say things like, oh, you just don't understand how flat Earth is being measured by you and the Ordnance Survey and Google. No, we definitely understand. It's just we understand what science is as well and how the world's been deceived by a heliocentric rhetoric that's been around for about 500 years.
Virtually all benchmarks in the UK can be checked on the open source Ordnance Survey database.
Like the one we covered on this very show. And then we're told I should have my kids taken off me, and I was reported to social services for covering this exact same flat Earth measurement. Oh, isn't that interesting? You carry on sniffing your own farts there, Wayne.
And this tiny little bolt here in the middle of the mountains is a Rivet lower order benchmark, and its number 136,164. And as well as its height of 446 meters, 23 centimeters and 9 millimeters, the database also shows it was positioned in 1954 with its exact grid reference. So if you have...
So the grid reference is the horizontal plane then. So for it to deviate in the vertical from every other thing on that grid, the grid must be flat. And it is! It's Cartesian! Yeah, we already knew all of this, Wayne. Like I keep saying, though, we get told our kids should be taken off us, we should jump off tall buildings, drink bleach and have our balls removed for going through the exact same information that you're covering here. But you get to sniff your own farts while talking about it, don't you?
Access to the database and you're reasonably good at reading a map, GPS just simply isn't accurate enough, then you can have loads of fun finding these little tiny 1 centimeter sort of bits of metal stuck into rocks. I know. I need a more exciting hobby.
No, I couldn't disagree with you more. Would it be more exciting if people were suggesting that you disseminating these facts means you should be pushed off a tall building? Would that make your life more exciting? Because you seem quite smug to me. Like, you're fake laughing around your boring facts of flat Earth measurements aren't exciting enough for you. I'll step into my world for a little bit there, Wayne. Yeah, it'll be a lot more exciting when your entire audience tells you you're drinking bleach. Because what, you're not violating the axiomatic principle of perpendicularity and horizontal planes of reference being parallel with one another to describe the deviation from a 0 point in the vertical axes. You see how axiomatically tied to a flat Earth all these measurements you're going through are? Ha ha ha! Have his kids off him and cut his balls off, I say. To mirror what I've suffered for 10 years. Maybe that'll make your life a bit more exciting, Wayne, if you're being told that your balls should be removed for going through this. Be a smarter man would have let the adverts roll whilst I was doing that.
Let's say that we wanted to create a new benchmark nearby, or we could use the height of this rivet, and let's say we do a survey and we find out that our next spot is 12,345 meters above this rivet, which is, don't forget, 446 meters, 239.
Then you'd need the principle of parallel planes to hold true for that to be the case, Wayne. Earth will be flat for you to do that with any degree of accuracy. And it is done by the Ordnance Survey with, as your own declarations have made clear, a very high degree of accuracy to within 1/10 of a millimetre. That's how flat Earth really is. That you can provide these axioms to the difference on the vertical for you to sniff your own farts and be smug about and get all the praise you get in your geography category. I mean, it doesn't matter that you don't know what an experiment is, right? It's not like anyone suggesting your balls should be removed for not knowing what an experiment is after all.
We just need to add the two numbers together. And
really? Is it just as simple as taking one away from the other? Because obviously they're both with respect to the same plane. Well, amazingly simple when you know how flat Earth is, right? Yeah, it is. Very simple.
That would give us the exact height of...
linear equation, Wayne? Is that what you're saying? Did he just say it was linear?
He did.
Just subtract and add?
Correct.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a problem for you, Wayne, if you believe you're on a ball.
Very big problem. I mean, obviously you can go to that hard place where suddenly these principles he's described as being very simple and applied to Earth measurements don't apply because he's belief in a curve, right? That he got taught in science class. Yeah? Or you can just sink to your knees in acknowledgement of how flat Earth is required to be for any of this to make any sense whatsoever. And it does. They're literally chiseling it into the side of buildings so it can remain as a description of how flat Earth is hundreds of years into the future, long after a bunch of cretins that believe they're on a ball, when they're all dead, will still have these axiomatic flat Earth measurements chiseled into the side of buildings with horizontal lines to describe the axiomatic principle of the planes described from a 0 point, and their differential with respect to an overall flat plane of reference that is Earth's surface, described from sea level in the UK. I mean, obviously, if sea level's bending, this whole thing's a complete load of bollocks, isn't it? Makes absolutely zero sense if sea level isn't horizontal. Then this makes no sense at all. But it does make sense. It is how Earth is measured. Flat. Because Earth is flat. That's why we can measure it with such accuracy, with the axiomatic principles of planes of reference being parallel to a single point on a vertical axis that they're all tied to. Yeah, that's Earth being measured flat with a high degree of accuracy. Nom, 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 nom.
Can we get a J on that? I want to hear that linear again.
Let's say we do a survey and we find out that our next spot is 12,345 meters above this rivet, which is, don't forget, 446 meters, 239. We just need to add the two numbers together, and that would give us the exact height of, I'm trying to work it out, 458,579. And I know you're still ready to post your comments. I already knew that. But hold on, just for now. As I said, especially if you live in Canada, New Zealand, Germany, or depending on when you're watching this video, Australia. I'll put some maps on your screen. Okay, so the first one will be a UK map.
Flat. It's got a grid on it. It's Cartesian. The heights are described with respect to a plane of reference. Earth's flat. Like maps demonstrate with their measurements of Earth's surface. Again, when I cover Earth being flat as per the maps and the scales on them for the linear, horizontal distances and heights perpendicular to a plane of reference like you're describing, it's suggested that social services come round and take my kids off me. You understand that, Wayne? Next time you've got the fucking gall to suggest I don't understand this stuff that we're both covering. Now, it's not that I don't understand, it's just you've got a belief in something that isn't real taught to you in a category error in a science class. Something you definitely don't understand, as you admirably demonstrated when you used the word experiment here today. You don't understand what science is, but you do know a lot about maths and measurements of Earth as a flat plane, don't you, Wayne? It's just you're not being told in a very exciting way to have your kids taken off you and your balls cut off, are you, Wayne? Would that excite you a little bit if that was the case? Do let Wayne know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. That is to say, don't tell Wayne that he should have his balls chopped off. Those sort of comments can only remain in my comment section because society has deemed it reasonable to suggest that I drink bleach in my comment section, that I should have my kids taken off me, that I should be reported to social services or be forced off a tall building to prove a downward vector perpendicular to a plane of reference that you call gravity, also requiring a flat Earth for the incorrect assertion. Meanwhile, we've got clouds. There's no such thing as a gravity force vector that always goes down perpendicular to a plane. That's just bollocks. But me pointing that out means that, what, social services should be informed? Because I'm a science denier? No, the only science deniers here are Wayne. Yeah? Wanker Wayne, who doesn't know what an experiment is. He just, to quote Wayne, does not understand.
But he is very professional.
And the next one, this is
how he surveys the land.
Surveys the land flat. No, he's sitting on the shoulders of other men. You know, Wayne's just going through what the Ordnance Survey have done for hundreds of years. Chiseling it into the sides of buildings so that long after this fart sniffer dies, people can still see how flat Earth is measured for all the planes of reference to make sense on a vertical axis with respect to each other. Obviously, it can't be curving or none of this makes any sense. Wayne's just standing on the shoulders of giants at the Ordnance Survey. So again, I mean, we can't put all of this on Wayne. After all, the Ordnance Survey people have measured Earth flat. Are they being suggested that their kids should be taken away from them? Answers in the comments. If, of course the Ordnance Survey have had it suggested their balls all be removed after they measured Earth flat.
American map.
And I knew you was going to do that. I just knew you was going to do that.
This map is also flat, Wayne. It's also using a Cartesian system, two-dimensional, and the bars that you're describing, the elevations with respect to a plane, with all of the planes of the height on the vertical axis from a 0 point tied axiomatically to a horizontal plane of reference that the map represents with the grid in a Cartesian manner. Yeah, these are all things that we cover. I mean, so far, not so good in terms of us leaving you many comments about things we didn't know here. We definitely knew all of this stuff about measuring Earth flat, Wayne, because Earth is measured flat. Ha ha ha! Now, maybe you'll be a bit more excited when people come along and suggest you have your balls cut off or drink bleach, right? That'd be a bit more exciting for you, Wayne, because you're describing a flat map here. It is flat. For it to function to describe the differences from a 0 point in a vertical. For all of the different points horizontally across this flat map, using a Cartesian grid. Because Earth's flat, that's how it's been measured, to within 1/10 of a millimetre.
And here's a Canadian map.
This is also flat, Wayne. It's also using a Cartesian system, a grid, if you will. You can see it on the map, Wayne. It's flat. Like Earth and its surveys and the measurements to within 1/10 of a millimetre with respect to planes being parallel with each other for the description of the differences in heights. That's elevation. Like a profile in Google Earth would give you with respect to a 0 point on a horizontal plane for the vertical differences in elevation. That's called an elevation profile. Yeah, you said that Google Earth wasn't accurate enough. I mean, maybe that's why the heads at Google aren't being suggested that their balls be cut off. Maybe. Who knows?
And this is a map from New Zealand.
This is also flat and using a Cartesian grid, Wayne, to describe the differential in the planar topology and the height differentials with respect to said Cartesian grid. This is flat, Wayne. Earth's measured flat, Wayne. Yeah? Maybe if a few commenters come along and suggest we have your balls removed, life will get a bit more exciting for you. Or maybe you'll become jaded like me. Who knows? I would suggest that you, in your nice little comfortable geography section of YouTube, is comfortably gathering up YouTube ad revenue and sniffing your own farts as you describe how Earth is measured flat. While me doing the exact same thing means I receive egregious censorship and ridicule and threats on my family. That's what I get. Very exciting, I assure you.
Pardon me. Has he got a little tramp stamp that says the flat model's been debunked below his video?
No. So I would ask Google, ABC, why is it that you haven't put a little tramp stamp about Earth not being flat as per the measurements? There's no little tramp stamp below his video. Yeah, shouldn't it just say here, it's a scientifically disproven model? When he's going through the geographical measurements of Earth as a flat plane, it's not describing it as a disproven scientific model on a Google tramp stamp. Is it just Google letting the world know who they can tell to cut their balls off with a little tramp stamp in a category error about scientifically disproven models? Because it doesn't seem to be there, Google. What's going on? Is it just when we measure Earth flat in a geography category, that's okay to reference a Cartesian grid and the differentials in a vertical aspect from a 0 point for all of the parallel planes described from that 0 point? That's Earth being measured flat. There's no disclaimer about it being a scientifically disproven model. Good catch. Give him a like.
They all have heights on them, showing the difference between various places and 0.
But Earth's measured flat. All of those different points on the Cartesian grid are all on a flat map. And for the differential to be accurate to within the 1/10 of a millimetre, they're all on the same plane of reference at the 0 point. These are facts. That if you violate them by saying, no, we've got a curved Earth, then none of these measurements make any sense anymore. Why isn't he being tramp stamped? Why isn't this being described as a violation of a scientifically disproven model?
Here's the question. Where is 0? Now, most people will say, oh, that's simple. It's the average sea level.
Not the average sea point, you fucking retard. So not a sea point, then. Like a sea level. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Earth's measured flat with sea level also.
Because that's what your teacher told you, or your scout leader.
Or how the Ordnance Survey measured Earth. For the UK. Yeah, that's how we measured Earth flat. That's right. Num, 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 num.
Everybody knows that, right?
What? Kind of like... This is where I was waiting for. That's why I've kept the show going for an extra 40 minutes for that one sentence. So it's almost like everybody already knew that Earth was measured flat according to this fart sniffer. Yeah, that's right. According to Wayne, the normie, everybody already knew this. Yeah? Sound familiar? That's kind of like what I say. Yeah, everybody already knows at a fundamental level that Earth is measured flat.
That's simple. It's the average sea level. Because that's what your teacher told you, or your scout leader. Everybody knows that, right?
Right. Yeah. And I implore my audience, let the map making channel know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by him or by the YouTube algorithmic bots that haven't tramp stamped him, telling him how scientifically disproven his measurements are. How intriguing. Has anybody got any comments before we round out this live stream?
Oh, nice one for covering it, Nathan. Yeah, the main reason I shared this video was just the points compared to sea level. I found that interesting myself. I thought it was all based off sea level.
I saw your comment with the link to the video, watched it in its entirety, and to be honest, as much as I've poured a little bit of disdain on this, I actually really like this guy. Yeah, you, Wayne, if you're watching and you've got through to the end of the video, when I jape about you putting comments below and having your balls cut off, no, that's just to make a point. I actually do genuinely like you as an individual. You represent normality. Normal people who all know at a fundamental instinctual level how flat Earth is. We all know that, right? Yeah, we do. And you typify that normie. So I like you, Wayne. I do. And I mean that sincerely. And I do hope that in some small way, in spite of the censorship that we experience here, I can help you along with the YouTube algorithmic love that I so desire. And should you make an actual response, rather than just saying, quote, Nathan doesn't understand, end quote, Wayne, you'd put a link to my video in the same way I'm sending my audience to you, in the very limited capacity that I can, in the face of the egregious censorship and tramp stamps, where your measurements and my measurements that we've already covered in the same exact way, when I cover them, it's a scientifically disproven model. Really? There was me thinking it's just measurements with respect to a Cartesian system on the maps, after measuring Earth flat to the 10th of the millimetre. Yeah, it is the latter, isn't it? It's just you don't get a tramp stamp. You don't get told that your kids should be taken away. You don't get told that you should drink bleach, be castrated and forced off tall buildings, do you, Wayne? But I do. But we're both covering the same thing, aren't we? Isn't that interesting? Ed?
Yeah, Nathan, is that because he's not actually saying we're living on a flat Earth, whereas we are saying that, and that's where the discrepancy is in that regard. You know what I mean? We know we shouldn't have children and blah, 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 but he's not saying that. So people don't really realize that he's not saying we live on a flat Earth. He's just saying we're measuring Earth. And he's not even saying we're measuring Earth flat. He's just saying measurements. Not even using flat, doesn't even come out of his mouth at all. So I don't know how you can say we all know.
Sea level.
Yeah, I don't know how you can say we all know it's flat. No, we don't all know. People don't know that they're living on a flat Earth. They don't know that, and they don't even know it's measured flat. Only a small percentage. He would be one of them, but even he doesn't even know he's on a flat Earth, I think. So and I don't agree with what you said the last segment.
That's how it's measuring it. That's what I'm saying. There's this tipping point, Jin, where the world at large do appreciate how flat Earth is dealt with, but they have a cognitive dissonance where you're saying, well, even though he's just described in no uncertain terms how flat Earth is measured, he doesn't know Earth is flat, but he's measuring it that way. That's where we can offer up a general public at large the ability to say, you already knew Earth was being dealt with as a flat plane, in the way that he says you were already taught how sea levels functionally utilised by your teacher or by your scout leader. Yeah, they were. That's what Neil was trying to get across to you. Exactly that. We already know it's flat at a base level.
You can look it up online.
But you can look it up online? No, if you look it up online, Wayne, you'll be told that it's a scientifically disproven model by the people at Google. Did you not know? Go ahead, Rondek.
Sorry, Nick, mistake, sorry.
I'm going to round out anyway. Has anybody else got anything to add, maybe from Discord? Feel free.
I think if you play the next minute or so, where he goes on about the datum point in Canada, which also applies for the entirety of North America, I think the audience may
an example. I know that in the US, the official National Park Service website says that Death Valley is 855 meters below sea level. And I looked the other day, and a Canadian university said that Mount Logan is 5.959 meters above sea level.
They're wrong.
The New Zealand government says that the summit of Mount Cook is 12,218 feet above sea level.
Regardless of these examples being not with respect to sea level, with regards to an arbitrary point ascribed by the government in Quebec or wherever it is in Canada that he goes to in a minute, the principle of horizontality and perpendicularity and all planes being parallel with one another still holds true for the description to hold true for it to be published on a university website. Now, it may be inaccurate in terms of the point on the vertical axes that are being referenced for each of these examples. The fact that they're arbitrary and not sea level doesn't change axiomatically how a plane of reference is being utilized to describe the deviation in the vertical for the elevation of each of these points he's referenced. The description with respect to a planar surface of Earth is the same regardless if you ascribe the 0 point to sea level or to a government mandated point that they come up with. The principle of horizontality and perpendicularity and planes of reference still must and can only hold true for these measurements to mean anything. The moment you start deviating away from a horizontal plane of reference because of a belief you were taught in science, the moment these measurements stop making any sense, or offering any useful nature for building things, or mapping anything.
There's just one small problem with those websites. They're all wrong. Okay, we're used to government websites being inaccurate, but a university website, they really should know better, you know.
I would say the same applies to Google when they're suggesting that the flat Earth measurements you're now going to appeal to and have appealed to throughout this entire video would be wrong and suggested to be a scientifically disproven model by the people at Google. They really should know better, given that their egregious suggestions inaccurately and in a category error lead to people being suggested to have their kids taken off them. I think Google have got a lot to answer to in that regard. They should know better, given that they form the same flat Earth measurements for elevation profile deviations in respect to the horizontal that the vertical 0 point on an elevation profile in Google Earth also uses. You'd think they knew better. Maybe the heads of Google that utilise those flat Earth measurements on Google Earth should have their balls cut off and their kids taken off them. Like it's suggested that we should have when people read a tramp stamp that say that what we're describing, the same as this guy, is a scientifically disproven model. There's no cause and effect here. The tramp stamp's an outrage, and it incites hatred. So what can we boil down in terms of what I've just disseminated to my audience? Google incites hatred against us for spitting the same facts this guy spits.
So,
I don't know what people... I don't know what's going on with people. They're telling me in chat, Neil, we have elevation profiles. That's how we know Earth is not flat. Are these people for real? Or are they just trolls?
I don't know.
Well, clearly they're trolls, Neil, obviously.
How do you get an elevation profile?
From a horizontal baseline. That's what you got to start.
Sea level, mate.
Sea level.
Sorry,
mean sea level, yeah. I was going to say, yeah, although we may be taught that Earth is measured flat, what wasn't taught to us and put so that we realize that we were living on a flat Earth. They didn't emphasize that point. And because we, the flat earthers, are emphasizing that point, this is where we get all this horrible abuse coming in. All right? That's
I
where
see.
it's different.
So if you only assert half of the modus ponens like he's doing, so he's saying Earth's measured flat, but then leaving it at that and moving on so he can sniff his own farts and laugh in his fake way. But we say Earth's measured flat, therefore it's flat. Therefore, the difference in asserting it in a logical consistency, that's modus ponens, means that we should be tolerated to have our kids suggested to be taken away from us because we turn a statement of absolute fact into a logical consistency when there's no need to. If Earth's measured flat makes no sense, there's no need to put it in an if statement because it is. He's just described it that way. And putting it into a conclusion with modus ponens, go on mute who's ever in Discord, G+ with their line open.
I mean, that's me.
Putting it into a logical consistency isn't necessary. I don't need to say Because we measure Earth's flat, there's no need. You just say Earth is measured flat. And then you detail how, like he's doing.
What's your comments?
But if you want to, to inform the public that they're not living on a bloody spinning ball, which is what they believe, as Earth is measured flat, you need to make that distinction clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, the ramifications of the statement, Earth is measured flat, means you are living on a flat Earth and not a spin.
Let's just cut him off before he says the last little bit that's really going to piss me off.
I didn't know that. Let's break this down. In the UK, if you see a height on a map or a survey document, that is the vertical difference between that spot and the average tidal readings taken in Newlyn in Cornwall.
So this is the new car.
Yeah, that would be him describing unequivocally how the differential for me at my altitude is with respect to a plane of reference averaged from a point measured in Cornwall in the 1920s.
So yes, in the UK, heights are measured above mean sea level.
So Earth's measured flat then. So let's just have another look, just make sure now we know for a certitude that he's describing Earth being measured as a flat plane with respect to a sea level. Parallel planes of reference to describe within a millimetre accuracy how high or low you are from that point measured as an average in Cornwall. Oh no, there's no scientifically disproven model, tramp stamp. What gives, Google? You should really know better. Why are Google inciting hatred? That's my question, and I want an answer. Google are inciting hatred against me and the people around me. Why? Why are you telling an audience, by way of tramp stamp, that the measurements this man has just disseminated via my channel are suddenly a scientifically disproven model? That's bullshit. All that does is incite hatred. Why?
But not so in the USA, Canada, and New Zealand, and soon Australia. Oh, I know I mentioned Germany. I'll talk about that in a moment. All I can say on heights in Germany is they are very strange. In those countries, official map heights don't actually tell you how high you are above sea level. And yes, I know that even Wikipedia uses the phrase sea level. What can I say? That's just another website that's wrong. In the USA and Canada, heights are not measured above sea level. Have you got that? They are not measured above sea level. Somewhere around the coast. They're all taken from a single point in Quebec. I think it's called the Rimouski reference point. I'll put the link in the description. Yes, you heard that right. The United States of America doesn't have its own zero base height, so it has to use one in Canada.
So all the way across the way in the States, they're referencing a point in Canada for a plane of reference over in the States. Yeah, that's right. Earth's measured flat on a vast scale from the Northern Territories in Canada all the way down through the central United States of America. Isn't that amazing? How flat you can reference. Will they give that point on the vertical accuracy to within 1/10 of a millimetre also when describing how high or low you are with respect to that reference point on the vertical? Oh, they will? Oh, so that Earth is definitely flat then, for this to make any sense at all. And they're going to quite some trouble to measure it all with respect to that point in Canada. Yeah. So they're going out of their way to measure Earth flat. Well, what do you know? Isn't that interesting? Was that all you need? What I wanted, Len? Or is there a bit more?
I can't remember now. There may have been another minute or so, but I'm good with that, dude.
I'll just let that sink in for a moment. Imagine telling certain Americans that their mountains, their roads, their backyard altimeters, they all take their orders from Quebec.
Some distance away then. Yes, so we've definitely got a flat plane of reference between the States and Canada, and all height deviations are described from that point in Canada on a horizontal plane of reference at that 0 point. So if you're in the States, you've got a point over here in the north of Canada, and how high or low you are is only with respect to that point in Canada. Yeah, Earth is unequivocally measured flat for this to make any sense. And it's how Earth has been measured.
In Canada. Now, I'm not saying that's controversial, but...
Oh, really? So why is it that I have a tramp stamp below it when I say it, and it's described as a scientifically disproven model in a category error by Google, who are inciting hatred against an entire group of people? Not controversial? Really? No, it's only not controversial when you say it in your nice little protected geography group with your geography algorithm, pointing people towards how flat Earth is measured on maps with Cartesian grids and points on horizontal planes of reference described from a 0 point in a vertical aspect. Not controversial for you. For me, I'm suggested to have my fucking kids taken off me, Wayne. Do you understand?
You can imagine
just
why...
Say here, though, Nathan, if I said Nathan, just say the Rimouski reference point is at sea level. The tidal station at Quebec serves as crucial reference point for establishing the North American vertical datum 1988, a standard used for determining elevations across North America, essentially fixing its local mean sea level as the 0 elevation point for the entire continent's ice system. So it is actually just using sea level.
Oh, Wayne.
Anyway.
Wayne, did you learn something new? Do you want to put it in my comment section? Did you learn something new about the Quebec sea level point that they've tied it to? Well, I keep saying Quebec. Where is it again? Not Quebec. Where was the place?
Quebec is in Canada, isn't it?
Where's the place, though? You just said it a second ago, One Deck. Station. Where's the station located? I've heard him say it so many times. It is Quebec. He's saying it. It's on screen.
Not very well known or publicised in the USA. In New Zealand, it's not even a physical place. All New Zealand heights are based on a mathematical model of the Earth. And Australia...
Sorry, a mathematical model? Sorry, not a scientifically disproven model that's curving for you when you don't get a tramp stamp that completely contradicts all of your measurements? Isn't that intriguing? Not controversial? You haven't got the slightest clue.
Yeah. Well, all I can say...
Go ahead.
He's probably referring to the WGS84 mathematical model that everybody's agreed to use, like we spoke about the other day. Everything's measured flat, horizontal, and level, and then they agreed to use Haversine and put it into this mathematical model, pretending that we live on a spheroid. That's what he's referring to.
Is they're moving towards using what I can only describe as a glorified Excel spreadsheet. So now you can start typing. I didn't know that. Oh yeah, for anybody living in Germany, the heights on your maps have nothing at all to do with the sea level in northern Germany, regardless of what anybody else tells you.
Does he know that they don't have a sea level in Germany? What's he babbling about?
They're actually based...
They'll be using somebody else's sea level. Well, they'll be using a sea level from somewhere. The mean sea level. Sorry, I mean mean sea level.
On the sea level in Amsterdam...
Sea level for a minute, mate.
Go ahead, Jin.
Sorry, I was going to say, can I borrow your sea level just to level my land out, please?
In Holland. Well, they're not really based on the sea level in Amsterdam. They are based on the sea level 300 years ago in Amsterdam. Have you ever seen that on any website, or heard it on a video, or read it in a book?
No, but we do cover how Earth is measured with respect to sea level, and it's suggested that we have our fricking kids taken off us. Yet over you, on your side of your pond, you seem to be sniffing your own farts and laughing about this and saying it's not controversial. Yet over here we got a tramp stamp and told that this is scientifically disproven, as Google incites hatred against a group of people who cover the exact same facts you cover. So none of this is new to us, Wayne. We're all acutely aware of how flat Earth gets measured.
All of which are created by experts. Wherever you are, there is always, and I mean always, something interesting. This is Tawley Edge, and at first glance, other than the wall with lots of benchmarks, there doesn't actually appear to be much else around this area. Back to benchmarks. What was I saying? Oh yeah, benchmarks. After watching this video, hopefully you've learnt a few things that you didn't know before you watched it.
How many people have learnt something new that we hadn't already covered on this show?
You know, we've covered everything on this, even the mathematical model, which you refer to, sea level, benchmarks, everything. We've been discussing this for years.
And the main thing is, in some countries, benchmarks show a height above sea level.
Earth's measured flat. No other way to describe it as a conclusion. Earth is measured flat.
Yep, and sea level is level, not curved.
Yeah, he just declared it when he said heights above sea level. Beautiful.
But in a lot of countries, they don't. You know, it shows the height above a specific spot that government has decided will be zero.
And can only functionally operate if the other points described with respect to that zero arbitrarily ascribed by a government are parallel on a plane of reference to describe it on the vertical axes. So Earth is still flat, regardless of whether or not you ascribe an arbitrary 0 point or use sea level.
Anyway, as always, thanks for watching.
It was absolutely our pleasure. It's just interesting when this video that we are covering today will have a tramp stamp below it saying that what we are covering, whilst covering him, is scientifically disproven when it comes out of our mouths, but simultaneously can be uncontroversial from his perspective. Well, there's nothing controversial about this, end quote him. Well, yeah, there is. When we say it, it's suggested that our kids can be taken off us, that we should be drinking bleach, be castrated and pushed off tall buildings. It's just when you say it, you see it as, oh, well, I can just chuckle about this with a fake laugh because there's nothing controversial about measuring Earth flat. From a 0 point that's referenced over here in Canada for all of the states parallel with that 0 point. That's just a flat Earth measurement. It's just when we say it, it's part of a scientifically disproven model that's archaic. When you say it, no consequences. Give him 100,000 subscribers. Let him have a fun old time in his comment section. Let him believe there's nothing controversial about it when it comes out of his mouth. That's it. That's the end of the video. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me there is a link to Wayne and the Map Reading Company YouTube channel whizzing its way by in the YouTube live stream chat. Any last comments? Any more for any more?
Yeah, you get people saying, a flat baseline, aka distance, does not mean Earth is flat.
That's exactly what it means. Right, Ipsy-Dixit fallacy. Just because we're flat and linear and horizontal doesn't mean we're flat and linear and horizontal. Just because the maps are flat and we're measuring deviations in the vertical with respect to a plane of reference doesn't mean that Earth is a plane of reference we're measuring from the vertical with. No, that's exactly what it means.
Yep. This brings out the worst in them. This hurts the worst because they cannot cope. That's why Buck is in here. We banned him. He came back with 3 different accounts. We had to ban him after that. That's why this hurts so bad, and when they want to character assassinate you, because this stings, because it's reality.
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on PayPal, smash the super chat, all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.